Hello and welcome to the channel. I'm Henrik from Scapegoat Online and I'm a clinical and neurocognitive psychologist. As a therapist, I specialized in helping trauma and scapegoat survivors to find their way in life. And today I want to talk about how to move forward in life as a scapegoat, especially if you have gone no contact with your peers. So if you are considering going no contact or have recently done so, this video might be just what you need. First off, I want to say how glad I am that this topic has gained more attention in recent years. There are now so many valuable resources available online, especially here on YouTube. And whether from those personally affected by scapegoating or from clinicians and therapists sharing their knowledge, these resources are a tremendous blessing. If we think back, 10, 15 or 20 years back, identifying and understanding this dynamic would have been far more challenging without these resources at our fingertips. However, while it's great to understand the dynamic and the psychology behind scapegoating, there's another aspect sometimes gets overlooked. How does life continue once you've realized you've been scapegoated? How can you move forward with this burden? Over the years, I worked with clients from almost all over the world, and I've noticed that there are some common challenges that nearly all scapegoat survivors face. And these challenges aren't unique to scapegoat survivors, but they are particularly prevalent among them. And in this video, I want to address 3 of these challenges, namely wrong loyalties, self-regulation, and what I call the false self. But first, it's crucial to understand that these challenges are consequences of a fundamental psychological need not being met. The balance between closeness and distance with others. So humans naturally oscillate between these 2 needs. And when we have the right balance between intimacy and freedom, our chances of happiness and psychological well-being are quite high. As a scapegoat, however, you likely haven't experienced much closeness, especially with your relatives. So you've been marginalized, kept at a distance, and whether you were pushed out of your family or you chose to distance yourself, you are now faced with the reality of that distance, perhaps feeling cut off from people. And if you have gone no contact, you might be left with only a few friends or acquaintances, or maybe even no one at all. And this is a highly unnatural experience for humans, but I must admit, it's not unusual. There are so many people out there in the exact same position. And this imbalance between closeness and distance is the backdrop for the challenges I mentioned earlier. So let's start with wrong loyalties. Wrong or false loyalties often manifest as intense feelings of guilt. You might constantly question whether it was really right to cut off contact, or you might worry about how your parents and your family members are doing without you. And these thoughts are completely understandable, because guilt and shame are incredibly powerful emotions that often lead us to second-guess our decisions. And these emotions can unconsciously prompt you to consider returning to toxic relationships, hoping to find finally the closeness and acceptance that you would still desire. However, it's crucial to recognize that these feelings of guilt often act as a masked bonding mechanism. This means that the guilt you feel has an unconscious function. It aims to reintegrate you into the group from which you have distanced yourself, or from which you have been distanced. So this feeling tries you to pull back to the people who hurt you in the first place, suggesting that returning to the group might solve your need for belonging. But returning would be a serious mistake, as it would simply draw you back into the same harmful dynamics from which you have freed yourself already. So the key to overcome wrong loyalties lies in realizing that guilt acts as a bonding mechanism and that your primary loyalty must be to yourself. Your first duty is to protect your well-being and live a life filled with healthier relationships. This is no easy task, I know, but it is essential for finding a long-term peace and stability in life. It's not about condemning your past or your family. It's about setting priorities that help move you forward and heal. Second, self-regulation. Self-regulation is a challenge that many, especially scapegoat survivors, must face. Emotional self-regulation is often hindered by years of feeling excluded, as you may have never learned to process your emotions in a healthy way. However, the ability to regulate yourself is crucial for achieving and manifesting long-term emotional stability. So one effective strategy for self-regulation, which is also often overlooked by psychologists and therapists, is building a strong relationship with yourself through self-talk, right? This might initially seem unusual, but it's a highly effective way to support yourself and mobilize your inner strength. A striking example, which I came recently across, is the story of Canva's founder, Melanie Perkins. And she wrote herself a letter during a down phase in her startup career, reminding herself that despite her current emotional state, she was capable of achieving her goals. And this kind of self-talk is an excellent example of self-regulation. Have a look.
Here's a note that I wrote to myself back in 2011. This was quite a low moment. All that rejection started to actually weigh on me. Mel, you're extremely tired. You're in a challenging situation, though you can pull through. Nothing bad is really happening. You're just feeling depressed because you're used to achieving things quickly. It's a hard environment. There is no doubt you will succeed and you'll find the team you need, get the investment you need, and build the company you've always wanted. You have chosen to put yourself in a challenging situation. If it wasn't challenging, you wouldn't feel as satisfied when you get to the end goal.
By speaking to yourself, whether through writing down your thoughts or speaking them out loudly, you build inner strength. You build an inner connection, which is especially important if you have lost significant relationships due to being scapegoated. It is crucial in that process to become the adult you would have needed as a child. This means giving yourself the care and support you may have missed out in your past, in your upbringing. So this form of self-regulation not only helps you remain calm and composed during difficult times, but also strengthens your emotional resilience, allowing you to better handle future challenges. And lastly, the phenomenon of the false self, which is quite common among scapegoat survivors. This false persona often develops early in life as a defense mechanism, as a coping mechanism against constant rejection and emotional wounds. So over time, the masks become a fixed part of your identity, so much so that you almost unconsciously wear it in all new social situations. And the problem here is that this second persona, this false self, prevents you from forming genuine connections with others. When you constantly hide behind a mask, you may attract people who you don't really fit with. The way to overcome this phenomenon is to gradually reduce the gap between your true self and this second persona, this false persona. This means finding the courage to show more and more of your real self, even if it feels uncomfortable at first. And this process can be painful, as it requires letting go of the safety that this mask, this mechanism once provided. But by becoming more authentic, you will also attract people into your life who truly understand and support you. And these genuine connections are essential for your personal growth, for your healing process. So to sum this up, overcoming guilt is crucial to avoid returning to harmful situations. Learn to embrace self-regulation and work on being as authentic as possible, stepwise. Remember, as a scapegoat survivor, you are unbreakable. The worst is behind you, and you have the power to overcome these challenges. So thank you very much for today's attention, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video.